Emily Henry's novel, People We Meet on Vacation, addresses the complications of a deep, long-lasting friendship between two young adults, Poppy and Alex. As the novel opens, Poppy is working at a travel magazine, Rest and Relaxation, in a position that should be her dream job. But she is unsatisfied and uninspired. She soon realizes that her lingering isolation and discomfort traces back to a single, unspoken rupture. For years, she anchored her life around her best friend, Alex. That is until a trip to Croatia 2 years prior severed their connection, leaving a void that no amount of jet-setting could fill. Now, back in the present of the novel, Poppy sends a desperate text, inviting Alex on one final spontaneous vacation to attend his brother David's wedding in Palm Springs. Against all odds, he actually says yes. This is a high-stakes rescue mission. Poppy knows this trip represents her absolute last chance to salvage the most important relationship she's ever had before the window closes permanently. To understand how much they have to lose, we have to look back at how they met in college. On paper, they made 0 sense together. They were spectacular, undeniable opposites in every conceivable category. While Poppy was loud and chaotic, Alex was notoriously reserved. He's tall and broad-shouldered with a meticulously gym-maintained build, preferring the quiet invisibility of neatly pressed gray trousers and plain white t-shirts. Their orbit finally locked during a reluctant college road trip back to their shared origin point in Ohio. Trapped in a car together, their clashing personalities slowly gave way to a surprising, easy rhythm. That single car ride snowballed. They started studying together, suffering through core science requirements, catching local movies, and eventually establishing an unbreakable annual tradition known simply as the summer trip. For two people who often felt out of place in their own daily routines, their bizarre pairing became a reliable, necessary escape hatch from the rest of the world. Year after year, the summer trip expanded in scope. They traded the Midwest for a sprawling tour of iconic cities and remote getaways, building a massive shared history along the way. They spent days wandering the humid, crowded blocks of New Orleans, grabbing drinks and swatting away the thick Louisiana heat beneath the wrought iron balconies of Bourbon Street. They drove the California coast, exploring the rugged cliffs of Muir Beach and slipping into Sonoma tasting rooms, where a bartender poured free wine, assuming they were newlyweds. They braved the chill of New York City, sipping cappuccinos at Café Lalo, while white and pink spring blossoms skittered across the concrete outside. During all this time, they were actively dating other people. Poppy had her painter boyfriend, Julian, while Alex pined after a sensible teacher named Sarah. Yet, with every new zip code they visited, an undeniable slow-burn romantic tension kept rising. These trips offered a convenient loophole. The novelty of travel provided a safe temporary space where they could exist entirely for each other, neatly ignoring their romantic feelings without ever having to risk their friendship. But that loophole couldn't last forever. The delicate balance they'd maintained for a decade finally went awry along the Adriatic Sea in Croatia. After a sunset dinner and wine with R&R's photographer, they gave into their desire and kissed. Alex stopped it from going any further, not wanting to begin an intimate relationship in a drunken state. This caused a major, deeply uncomfortable fracture. The immediate fallout was total silence. The daily text messages evaporated. To cope, Poppy threw herself into a relentless cycle of professional work trips, trying to outrun the pain of losing him. It didn't work. Without Alex, every exotic locale felt hollow. Losing that specific connection forced both of them into a state of emotional exile, proving that you can't pack up and leave your own grief behind. Which brings us crashing back to the present day in Palm Springs. 2 years later, the grand reunion trip is an unmitigated disaster. Physical miseries are piling up on top of their emotional distance. They're stuck in a sweltering Airbnb with a broken AC unit, eventually seeking refuge in a sticky-floored local dive bar called Bar. The easy, infectious banter of their 20s is totally gone, replaced by a suffocating, heavy awkwardness. Every conversation feels like stepping through a minefield. It's a harsh reality check. A shiny new zip code and a week of paid time off cannot magically stitch a broken relationship back together. The scenery has changed, but the walls between them are still firmly intact. The mounting tension finally peaks at the trip's main event, David and Tom's wedding, hosted at a stunning bougainvillea-draped Palm Springs villa. Surrounded by the loud, joyful energy of the wedding party, and aided by bougainvillea and a few bottles of wine shared out on the stone terrace, their tightly held defenses finally begin to crack. Alex slowly drops his stiff, guarded posture. He starts offering the dry, quiet aids that defined their college days, eventually making Poppy laugh so hard that wine actually spews out of her nose. The distance between them doesn't close because of the resort atmosphere. It requires the simple, terrifying willingness to drop their armor and let the other truly in. The evening reaches its emotional peak. A tunnel of guests forms, lighting sparklers in the dark, washing the entire scene in a warm, electric glow. Standing there, Poppy finally confronts her own truth. She realizes that her glamorous life of constant escape is entirely meaningless without a true grounded connection to anchor her. The exhausting game of pretend finally ends. They bridge the gap they've been dancing around for 10 years, stepping out of the safety of friendship to confront their romantic feelings head-on. They transition from two best friends running away from their lives into a permanent partnership, finally ready to build a life they don't need a vacation from. 10 years of travel across different continents and different lives finally reaches its conclusion. The map has been folded away, leaving only the two people who were meant to be the destination all along.